Welcome to Open Your Reality, I'm Chad. In this video... Who are you? Where did you come from? I'm you, from the future. Spit it out fast, man. You're ruining my video. I came here to tell you the crew of the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger disaster are still alive. Bullshit. That's impossible. Denial is the most predictable of all human responses. This is the 6th time that I've come here to tell you about it, and I've become exceedingly efficient at it. You better hope we don't meet again. We won't. I don't know what that was, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you I'm going to look into that starting right now. Well guys, that was just a little bit of editing magic right there. Hope you enjoyed it. I want to talk about 3 things in this video. The first one, of course, is the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. Because when I first heard about this, I just couldn't believe it, and we'll get into all the details on it soon. Second, I want to talk about Elon Musk, and particularly this video that David Weiss recommended I watch back in our interview. We'll talk about that. And lastly, the producer of the TV show called me back. Apparently, they really want me, and I want to tell you what happened in that second conversation, and all this is up next. You know, it's getting a little stuffy in here. I think I need some fresh air. All right, this is a lot better back in the great outdoors. I love it. All right, let's turn our attention back to the Challenger conspiracy. So we have people, mostly flat earthers, claiming the crew is alive and well, and apparently they've even kept their same names and are even working very public jobs. Now this sounds completely preposterous considering we saw the Challenger blow up while en route to space. And if you don't know about it, basically the shuttle took off from Florida on a very cold day in January, and about 73 seconds into the mission, a booster engine failed and caused the Challenger to break apart. And I remember that day very well because I was in 8th grade and I was coming home from school and we saw it all over the TV. It was being played over and over again. So fast forward 30 years and this idea begins to take shape that the crew is still alive. And of course this presumes the crew never actually boarded the Challenger the day it took off, and if this statement is true, then it adds further proof that NASA is faking space, because most of us know about the air bubbles seen in astronauts' helmets in space, the harnesses and wires used to hold them up and make it look like they're in 0G, and of course the fake moon landing missions. Whether outer space exists or not, we may never know for sure, but even if we could hypothetically and definitively prove without a doubt that NASA is faking space, it doesn't necessarily confirm that the Earth is flat. It just makes the likelihood more probable. So let's look at the 7 Challenger crew members and see if we can justify the claim of them being still alive. The first crew member I'll bring up is the commander Richard Scobie. Now take a look at this picture. Here's the commander on the left, and he was born in 1939 and would have been 46 years old at the time of the disaster. And this gentleman on the left has the same name, but dropped the Francis off the beginning. He's around 75 years old, which is the age the commander would have been at the time of this photo. Now look at the similarity in their appearance. Do you think they're the same person? I can see some similarities in the face, but to me this is not conclusive proof, but it really makes you think. The second crew member to talk about is Judith Resnick, and hers is a little bit more interesting. She was a mission specialist and veteran astronaut, and her doppelganger is a Yale law professor also named Judith Resnick. And of course, if the astronaut Resnick was alive at the time of this photograph, she'd be about the same age as the law professor. And you can see right there's an uncanny resemblance. Same dark curly hair, dark eyes, same eyebrow shape, same lines on both sides of the face extending up from the jaw, and even their mannerisms appear to be the same. How do you explain that? The third crew member is the pilot Michael Smith. That's a very common name. Look at the 2 faces. I could see this being the same person aged 30 years up. But I can also see it as a coincidence, especially because the name is so common, which is not the case for Commander Scobie and Judith Resnick. The 4th crew member is payload specialist Gregory Jarvis, who is never talked about in this conspiracy. Apparently, no doppelganger could be found, so we'll just skip over him. The 5th and 6th crew members are Ronald McNair and Ellison Onizuka. and both pictures look like they can definitely be the deceased astronauts. However, we're told that both of the older men that we're seeing in the pictures are actually their twin brothers. And I tried to do a bit of research, but it's difficult to substantiate. I did listen to an interview, however, with Ronald McNair's brother, Carl, so I presume it's possible. And the seventh and last crew member is Sharon Krista McAuliffe, and she was going to be the first teacher in space. And this picture shows her supposed doppelganger. Now, to me, I just don't see a strong resemblance here, but again, this woman is around the same age as Krista McAuliffe and has the same name. And that's because Krista's first name was actually Sharon, but she went by her middle name. Alright, let's weigh up the facts and see if we can make a determination if these people are really the same space shuttle crew members or not. And as I said before, the chances of Richard Scobie and Judith Resnick having a doppelganger of the same age and name would be extremely rare, probably 1 in millions. And what's most interesting is that Resnick, the Yale law professor, is quite a public figure and has been on C-SPAN. And surely these people have friends and family who know if they were truly the astronauts from the Challenger or totally separate people. And the pilot Michael Smith looks very similar to the older photo, but because his name is so common, we can't really put any odds on it. Now, in regard to Ronald McNair and Ellison Onizuka, the chances of having an identical twin is roughly 1 in 250. So if my math is correct, the chances of having 2 identical twins out of a 7-person crew is 1 in 875. Now, math wasn't my strong suit, so that could be wrong. Not the best odds, but certainly attainable. And as for Krista McAuliffe, I don't buy that's her in the picture, and Gregory Jarvis is a non-factor as there's just no picture of him. At best, I would say there's a slim chance that we're looking at the same people. But I wouldn't put it past NASA either, because we know they've been caught faking space recently and during the moon missions, so why not in the middle periods of the 1980s as well? Interestingly, the shuttle is supposed to be a glider, but I've seen footage that shows it's actually an airplane and has jets, and I wish I could find that clip. I believe I saw it in a presentation by a guy named Darren Nesbitt, who you can see on YouTube. He does presentations on Flat Earth and NASA conspiracies. Anyway, that's my prognosis of the Space Shuttle Challenger conspiracy. What do you guys think? Are these the same people, or do you think it's total BS? I'd like to know. Now, I want to move on to talk about Elon Musk. In my video with Dave Weiss last week, he mentioned he'd send me a link to a video that exposes Elon Musk as a fraud, and he promptly did so right after the interview. So I posted the link in the description of our interview, and I've watched the Elon Musk video several times myself. I'm not sure if any of you watched it, but personally, I don't buy into anything SpaceX is doing, and I certainly don't believe Elon Musk is the super genius everyone thinks he is. How could he possibly run SpaceX and Tesla and live the life of a celebrity at the same time? I don't see it. So the video was brief, only about 5 minutes long, but it was good, and it basically refutes a lot of the commonly held beliefs about Musk, many of which were put forth by Musk himself. And one is that he was born poor and was extremely hard up in college. But the video claims Musk's family was super wealthy, and they even owned an emerald mine. And he had plenty of money as a child, a college student, and afterwards. And it's also a common belief that Musk was the founder of PayPal and Tesla, but he wasn't. He was with PayPal before the company had that name, but he performed so poorly as the CEO, the company actually fired him when he went on vacation. As for Tesla, 2 men founded the company before Musk had any part of it, and after Musk invested in the company, he then forced one of the founders, a man named Martin Eberhard, out of his position as CEO and took over that position. And Musk then rewrote the company history to make it appear he was the founder. Now, the last piece of intriguing information from that video involves Werner von Braun, who was the head of NASA and a former German scientist during World War II. And interestingly, he wrote a novel around the year 1952 that predicted a man named Elon would conquer Mars. And that's very odd because NASA has partnered with SpaceX to colonize Mars. Is this just a coincidence, or is there something more behind it? Remember, the deep state plans things out decades in advance. And now for the last thing that I want to talk about, which is my conversation with the producer of the TV show. Many of you know I was contacted recently by a major network television show looking to do a 1-hour documentary entirely on me. And many of you suggested I skip the show, and for good reason. Well, I got a text from the producer late last night asking if I could talk to his higher up, the woman who's in charge of the whole project, and she's the executive producer, the big cheese, so to speak. And I agreed because I wanted to hear what she had to say. So we talked for over a half hour, and mostly it was her talking, trying to convince me to do the show. And she asked what the main obstacles were for me, and I told her it was asking me to fabricate conflict and to see a therapist. And I guess they really want me because she came up with a new angle. And this time it's I'm a loner who has beliefs of simulation theory, but other than my YouTube channel, I don't know how to evolve it into a bigger movement. And for that, I would see a therapist who would help me to be more outgoing, basically allowing me to be more of a public figure and voice for the movement. You know, it presents me in a slightly better light, and I'm a person who is more of an introvert anyway, but still. I don't think it's intriguing enough to do the show. Plus, I can't see a lot of value in doing it, and there's no compensation. So I left off by telling her I'll give her a final answer tomorrow. And if you have any further advice for me on this, just leave it in the comment section. But I think we all know what the answer is going to be. Well, thanks for making it through to the end of another Open Your Reality video. Give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'll see you all real soon. Much peace and love.